I'm 39, and I've been a single mom since I was barely 21. My daughter, Alina, just turned 18 last month. For the past nearly 2 decades, it's been just the two of us against the world. Her father, Sean, left me when I was 3 months pregnant. He said he wasn't ready for that kind of life, and that was the last time I ever heard from him. Or at least, that's what I thought. I never hid anything from Alina. She's known since she was a kid that her father wasn't in the picture. I didn't sugarcoat it, but I didn't badmouth him either. I just told her the truth. Some people don't stay, but that doesn't mean it's your fault. I thought we were okay. We were more than okay. She's a smart, grounded, funny kid. A little introverted, but artistic. Loved painting, books, and cooking weird recipes from TikTok. She never gave me a hard time growing up. Never rebelled. Never acted out. That's why when she started acting strange a few weeks after her birthday, missing curfew, coming home distracted, phone glued to her side, I chalked it up to normal teenage behavior, until she sat me down last week and told me something that completely shattered my understanding of our life. She said, "I've been seeing Dad. He's been visiting me since I was 10. I know what to say. I thought she was joking at first, or maybe confused, but she wasn't. Her voice didn't shake, her hands didn't fidget. She looked me dead in the eye and told me that Sean, the man who left me pregnant and never came back, had been meeting her in secret for almost 8 years, and that's when I realized something terrifying. If she's telling the truth, someone has been lying to me for a very long time. I just sat there, stunned. I asked her to repeat herself. I needed to hear it again, because my brain couldn't wrap around it. She said it as calmly as before. Sean had been visiting her since she was 10, sometimes every few months, sometimes once a year, sometimes in long stretches where he'd disappear again, but always secretly, always when I wasn't home. I asked her how it started. She told me she met him outside her school. At 10 years old, he approached her during dismissal one day and said he was her father, said he missed her, said he wanted to see her but couldn't talk to me because I hated him too much. According to her, he told her not to tell me, that he didn't want to cause drama, that he just wanted a relationship with her quietly, and she believed him. For 8 years, she believed him. She told me she kept it hidden because she didn't want to hurt me. She didn't want me to get angry or scared or force him away, and deep down, she said she wanted to know him, even if it meant lying to me. I felt sick. Not just because he found her, not just because he kept it a secret, but because he knew exactly how to manipulate. He waited until she was old enough to understand loyalty, but too young to question his absence. He made her carry the weight of both our choices, and the part that chilled me the most, she said, "He always knew when you wouldn't be home." That sentence echoed, "He always knew when you wouldn't be home." I asked her what she meant by that. She shrugged, almost nervously, like she was starting to realize just how messed up it all sounded. She said Sean would show up only on days I worked late, or when she had a dentist appointment and I dropped her off and left, on school breaks when I went grocery shopping, on days I ran errands or went out with friends, days no one but people close to me would know about. And then she said it, "I think someone's been That's when my heart sank, because there are only who knew my schedule enough to time something. My sister, my best friend, all people I trusted, all people who loved Alina. But here's where it gets worse. I asked her if she had proof, texts, photos, anything. She said no. Sean always made sure they met in person, never texted, never called, said it wasn't safe, but she did keep a box of things he gave her. Old notes, drawings, a cheap little necklace, and one photo. A photo of the two of them. Her, maybe 11, him smiling, hand on her shoulder, taken somewhere outside, maybe a park. I stared at it for what felt like forever. He looked exactly the same as I remembered him, except for one thing. He was wearing the hoodie I threw out 10 years ago, the one I kept hidden in the back of my closet for years, then finally tossed when I moved. Which means he's been watching us. Not just her. Us. Our life. From the outside. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with that photo in my hands, turning it over again and again, like the back would suddenly explain everything. But it didn't. It was just blank. No date, no handwriting, just a smooth white surface behind the image that had detonated the whole world. The next morning, Alina left early to meet a friend. She was tense when she hugged me goodbye, like she wasn't sure if I was angry or scared, or both. Truth was, I didn't even know either. I wasn't angry at her. Not really. She was a child when it started. What was she supposed to do? I was furious at him, furious at whoever helped him get to her, and beneath all of that, there was something even darker boiling under the surface. I was scared, because if Sean could find her once, he could do it again, and I had no idea what he wanted. I decided to start asking questions, quietly, carefully. I called my sister first, asked if she ever heard from Sean over the years. She swore she hadn't, sounded genuine, confused even. I believed her. Then I called Carla, my old neighbor who used to watch Alina when she was little. She didn't answer. I left a voicemail, but the call that really shook me, I called my mother. I didn't even tell her why. Just casually asked, "Did Sean ever reach out to you? Even just once?" She paused. Too long. Then she said, "Why are you asking that now?" She didn't deny it. didn't even ask what I meant. Just now, as if she'd been waiting. I kept my voice calm, but my fingers were digging into my thigh so hard they left marks. I asked her again, slower this time, "Did Sean ever contact you?" And that's when she sighed. One of those long, tired sighs that comes after a decision's already been made. She said, "I didn't think it mattered if you didn't know." I felt something in my chest cave in. It was her. It had been her all along. She told me Sean reached out to her when Alina was around 9. He sent her a letter, handwritten, no return address. In it, he said he regretted everything, that he didn't want to disrupt my life, but he felt it was time to know his daughter, that he'd keep his distance, follow her lead, not mine, and that he hoped someday I'd forgive him. But he didn't contact me. He went straight to my mother, and she, the woman who watched me raise a child alone, who saw me cry after every failed birthday with no card, no call. She said nothing. She admitted she let him meet Alina, said she supervised the first visit, like that somehow made it better. According to her, he promised it would only be occasional. No drama, no surprises, no lies apparently. When I asked her why she'd betray me like that, she said, "Because she deserved to know who her father was, and because I knew you'd never let her." That part made my blood run cold, because she was right. I never would have let Sean near Alina. Not after the way he left us. Not after he said he wasn't ready, and vanished like we never existed. And now? Now I had no idea how many times he'd been alone with her. What he said, what he didn't say, what else he lied about. And as I sat there shaking, trying to process it all, my mom said one last thing before hanging up. "He told me he wasn't coming back. That last year was his final visit. So if she told you now, he broke the promise." That last line wouldn't leave my head. If she told you now, he broke the promise. So there was a promise. Some secret arrangement between my mother and the man who abandoned me pregnant. Like they had their own little pact, one where I didn't exist, one where my daughter became something they shared behind my back. I felt nauseous. Betrayed didn't even cover it. I didn't know who I was more furious with. Him, for slithering back into our lives like a ghost with charm, or her, for holding the door open when I'd locked it years ago. But something still wasn't adding up. Why now? Why did Alina tell me now? If Sean had apparently ended things a year ago, that's when I realized she hadn't volunteered the truth on her own. Not exactly. She told me after her birthday, after a few strange nights, after the mood shifts and distant stares, after she started locking her phone like she was guarding state secrets. What if she wasn't just coming clean? What if she was scared? That night, I knocked on her door and asked if we could talk. She hesitated, then nodded. I didn't push, just sat on the edge of her bed while she picked at the edge of her blanket. I told her I knew about Grandma, that I'd spoken to her, that I knew Sean had been in and out of her life since she was 10. She didn't say much, just nodded quietly. Then I asked, as gently as I could, "Alina, did something happen the last time you saw him?" She looked away, jaw clenched. Her eyes started to water, but she shook her head. "No," she said, but it didn't sound like it sounded like a rehearsed. I asked her again, "Sweetheart, please, if he did or said something, you can tell me. You're not in trouble. You're safe." And then, without looking, she whispered, "He gave me something, but he said not to open it till I turned 18. I felt like the air had been sucked out." She didn't move, didn't look at me. Just sat there with her shoulders tense and eyes focused on the corner of her bed, like she was trying to disappear into it. I asked her where the thing was. The something he gave her. She hesitated, then stood up and crossed her room to her closet. From behind a stack of old board games, she pulled out a small wooden box, one I'd never seen before. It looked handmade. No markings. Just a simple, rectangular container with a little metal latch. She held it like it was made of glass, like it weighed more than it should have. I asked if she'd opened it. She shook her head, said she couldn't bring herself to. She'd had it hidden for over a year, and every time she touched it, it made her chest feel tight. But after her birthday, the pressure had gotten worse. She said she almost opened it 3 nights ago, but something told her to wait. She handed it to me. It was warm, like it had just been held tight in a nervous palm for too long. I opened the latch and slowly lifted the lid, expecting, I don't even know. A letter, maybe. A keepsake. Some twisted memory he thought she deserved. But what was inside made every hair on my body stand straight. There were 3 things. A USB drive, a folded piece of paper with a hand-drawn map, a Polaroid photo of Alina, sleeping, in her bed. I stared at the photo for a long time, hoping I was misunderstanding what I was seeing, but it was unmistakable. The blanket, the wall posters, the fairy lights. It was her room. It was our house. And that photo? I never took it. My hands were shaking. Alina sat beside me, her face pale, eyes wide, staring at the photo like she hadn't really looked at it before. Like part of her thought it was something sweet, something innocent. But it wasn't. It was terrifying. She was clearly asleep in it, mouth slightly open, head turned, one arm resting above her head. exactly how she sleeps when she's in a deep, dreamless state. There was no flash, no angle distortion, no noise. It had been taken up close, inside our house, while she was completely unaware. I asked her if she remembered when it was taken. She didn't. She started crying, silent, shaky sobs like she was trying not to make a sound. I wrapped my arms around her, but my mind was spinning. I felt cold all over, my chest tightening with a feeling I couldn't even name. Sean had been in our house. Not just in her life, in our home, inside her bedroom, with a camera, and I had no idea how many times. I grabbed the folded paper next. The map. It wasn't anything formal, just hand-drawn with blue ink on yellowing paper. It showed the surrounding streets of our neighborhood, but certain houses had little red X's marked on them. Not all, just a few. One of the X's? Our house. Another? My best friend's place. And another? Carla's old home. I couldn't make sense of it. It looked like a route, a path, but for what? Then I remembered the USB. My instinct said don't plug it in. What if it was malware? A virus? But the part of me that needed answers was louder. I grabbed my old laptop, the one I never used for work, and popped it in. There was only one file on it, no title, just a .mp4 video. When it started playing, I almost dropped the laptop. It was a recording, shaky, filmed from outside a window. It was me, in the kitchen, making breakfast. He'd been watching us for years. The video was only a few minutes long, but it felt endless. The camera shook slightly like someone was holding it at chest level, peering through a bush or fence. The timestamp in the corner was from last year. It showed me making coffee while Alina sat at the table scrolling on her phone. Then the video ended abruptly with the sound of a car door slamming somewhere off screen. I clicked the next file. Another .mp4. This one was from 2 months ago. It showed our front door from across the street. Alina came out, backpack slung over her shoulder, and walked down the block. Then, a few seconds later, a man stepped into frame, hoodie, baseball cap pulled low, and followed her at a distance. He never looked at the camera, but his posture was unmistakable. Even after all these years, I knew it. It was Sean. Alina's knuckles were white where she was gripping the edge of her blanket. She whispered that she didn't know any of this existed, that she thought he was just showing up, that he loved her. She kept saying over and over, "I didn't know." I stopped clicking. My hands were trembling too much. I told her we needed to go. Now. We couldn't stay in the house another night with this hanging over us. I didn't even care where. A hotel, a friend's couch, anywhere but here. As I was shoving the box back into my bag, something clinked at the bottom. A thin silver key taped to a folded note. I peeled it off and opened the paper. In Sean's handwriting, blocky and deliberate, it said, "For when you're ready. Everything you deserve is waiting here. Don't tell her yet." Underneath, an address, not one I recognized. Alina's eyes widened. She said he'd mentioned a special place once, but she thought he was talking about it wasn't a park. It was an abandoned storage facility town over. I didn't know what but every instinct told me two things. Whatever it was meant for her. He wasn't finished with us yet. I didn't sleep that. I packed a bag with just the essentials, grabbed the box, the USB, and the key. Alina sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket. If she stayed still enough, this would all unhappen, but it wouldn't. I dropped her off at my sister's house early the next morning. I told her it was just for a day or two, to rest, to breathe, and I promised I'd tell her everything once I had answers. She didn't argue. She looked Then I drove to the address. It was one of those old, half-abandoned storage lots off a back road no one uses any. Half the units were rusted shut. The gate was broken and just barely hanging from one hinge. My stomach twisted as I parked. Unit 137. The key fit perfectly. Inside was not what I expected. No weapons, no creepy photos, no wall covered in strings and maps. It was worse. There were shelves, organized, labeled, boxes filled with things that belonged to us. My daughter's artwork from 2nd grade, a ceramic mug I threw away in 2015, a scarf I lost on the bus, even the hospital bracelet from the day Alina was born, the one I thought I'd misplaced after moving. Sean had taken them. He'd been watching us for years, not just visiting Alina. He'd been inside our life, piece by piece, taking pieces of it like souvenirs. There were even logs, handwritten notes, dated. Saw her smile today. Looks just like her mother. She asked if I ever held her as a baby. Told her I did. She believed me. Too risky to approach this month. Mom seemed suspicious. My knees gave out. I didn't even hear the footsteps behind me, but I felt the air shift. Someone was there. I turned, and he was standing just inside the doorway. Sean. Older, grayer, thinner, but those eyes were exactly the same. Like no time had passed. Like he'd just stepped out to grab coffee and came back 18 years later. He smiled. I didn't. He said he figured I'd find the key eventually, that she must have told me, that it was sooner than he planned, but maybe for the best. Then he said the most chilling thing I've ever heard in my life. She was never just yours. You knew that. I stood. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I stared straight at him and said, "You're going to walk out of here, and you're never coming near her again. I know what this is. I have everything. The notes. The footage. The photo." His face twitched. I added, "If I see you near her again, I won't go to the police first. I'll go to the press." That got him. He said nothing after that. Just stared at me for a long, uncomfortable moment, then turned and walked away. Disappeared like smoke. I called the police, gave them the box, the address, the drive. They opened a case, but since there's no physical harm or contact caught on record, and because Alina's over 18, they said it would be complicated, but I don't care. Because I have everything now. Everything he didn't want me to know. I showed it all to Alina the next day. She broke, sobbed in my lap like she was 5 again. She kept asking, why would he do this? I didn't have an answer, but I told her this. He may have lied to you. He may have taken your trust. But he doesn't own your truth, or your future. That's still yours. And we burned the photo together.